Huxel, presenting Goffstown TV marketing plan. Carol, please come up and welcome to our board this evening.
Hi. I think that primarily I'm here to answer questions because everybody has received the plan that I wrote. And so it was my intention that you had an opportunity to take a look at it and use it as part of the criteria for doing some repairs on the program. And I thought it would maybe be a good idea if I came in and I answered some questions.
Yes. Ms. Huxel, could you give us a little synopsis of your background and your experience?
Sure,
and
you know,
expertise and those sorts of things?
conveniently, I brought my resume so that you would be able to see that I am able to discuss this professionally.
Thank you.
I figured that would come up. I don't think I brought one for you. Did you have one?
In fact, also tell us about your background with Goffstown TV and your,
Well,
what led to the interest in the program.
Well, I'm very frustrated that I'm not seeing the station moving forward into the kind of community service that a lot of the other local stations are using. And my interest was very much piqued when I went to the Business Expo and the GTV was not represented. I am currently filming a TV program for one of my clients over in Bedford, and I was shocked at the difference in the level of equipment and the scheduling and the set design and the number of people who volunteer and the training programs. So I did some research and I was looking at some of the other stations. I mean, obviously we can't compare ourselves to Manchester, but we should be able to compare ourselves favorably to Bedford. And I don't think we're able to. And it's a remarkable tool that we have, especially for economic development, and we're not taking advantage of it. And I know there had been questions recently about ways that we could promote the station. Since that's my level of expertise, I did the marketing plan. I have to say that there have been several opportunities recently, other than just the Business Expo, where our television station was not represented. And it was not promoting the best interests of the community in the way that it should be. The best example of that would be the 250th anniversary. So, as I said, it is my level, this is what I do, and I put together this marketing plan, and so, questions about it?
I'd like to start off with the amount of staff that we do dedicate to the studio operations is presently kind of restricted by the amount of funding that's provided to it. And as I understand, there's a vast difference in the Bedford station's revenue and the amount of revenues coming which are, well, the fees that we get from Comcast are different percentage goes to the studio operations.
Understood. However, we have in Goffstown a very, very strong group of volunteers through the Main Street program, through Odd Fellows, through the Lions Club, through the Rotary. We have a lot of really strong programs that if we gave them the opportunity and we invited them in, because I've spoken to quite a few of these groups, and if we invited them in and we made it possible for them to take an active role, we would find more volunteers. It is no longer necessary to always hire, because in the new technology, chores and task lists can be so pinpointed that people can easily accept responsibility in ways that previously they were not able to. Contacting a mailing list now is simply writing one letter and pushing send, rather than having to stuff envelopes, 150 envelopes. So you limit your expenses and you have a lot more people interested in, but what we don't have is we don't have the infrastructure to train people to come in and do the work.
Selectman Gross?
What you provided, Carol, on page 2, where you said strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, I've seen these done before. It's called a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and, well, threats.
Right, so of course it becomes my personal opinion too.
That's fine.
What is strengths and weaknesses.
But what I'd like to do, if I may, is just ask you some questions on, on some of these strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and then you call them competitors. Talk about, its strengths. Have you, we do have a cable access committee. Have you spoken to them, as you refer to them? It's referred to as a weakness, but it's also referred to as an opportunity, where you say that the change in GTV committee has brought in new voices and ideas and a new chair with professional experience in public television. So have you had any conversations with the cable access committee with regard to this marketing plan, and if so, what was the feedback?
I've had conversations with some of the people who work at the station and some of the people who are on the committee. But again, it's important to note that when I put this together, this was from the perspective, as I had told Sue, this was from the perspective of somebody in the community watching this TV station, not from somebody in the committee. I was on the committee, but it was quite a few years ago.
And based upon that, the conversation that you had with those individuals, does it appear that they're receptive towards making some changes?
Oh, I do think so, absolutely. I think that the whole entire TV station team is ready to move forward. It's just a question of the support and more volunteers. I can't comment on the money because I don't know what the full budget is, so that's out of my realm of expertise. My level of expertise is to advise you here if you're interested, because this is all volunteer. So my level of expertise is to advise you of the ways that you can do this without increasing the budget, without changing the money, okay? This is not like, I believe, what is it, 265,000? That's what we get from Comcast. So if any changes were to take place, it would have to be, for now, there couldn't be any money involved because that money's already allocated and it's a whole nother year before. So we certainly don't want to wait a year. We want to move forward. So it has to be things that can take place, working with the team that's already in place and adding to it.
The GTV budget for the board's
68.
information is about 65,000.
65.
Do you know what the Bedford board, their budget, do you know what they may be operating at?
Much, much higher.
Okay.
I think, I don't know if anyone on the committee knows, do they earmark all their revenue, pay revenue to their cable television
That's
station?
what I understand they do.
Go directly from Comcast to Bedford.
Right.
They don't go through the town at all.
So they earmark their whole franchise
Yes, I
fee.
know.
And now, I hate to bring up the subject, but the 03102 zip code, does that have an effect on the money we get for our Goffstown program here as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're trying to resolve that auditing issue.
Yes.
I guess, you know, in reading this, there are things in this that I agree with, and there's things that I think are critical, but yet warrant additional discussion with the cable access, our committee. Because similar to yourself, yes, I've heard from others in the community saying, I wish we had different programming. And in conversations with Dick and others, I know there's been a variety of things that have been tried, you know, bringing on someone who would do outreach, trying to get more people to produce shows, a whole host of things. I think, as the chairman said, finances are always an issue because you have a $65,000 or $68,000 budget. There has been, in fairness to the current situation, there has been repeated requests to increase their budget. As a matter of fact, this year, there was a request, and then in terms of the default budget, it was cut. But, you know, to me, there needs to be an analysis of GTV, not just its marketing plan. I mean, certainly, I think it would be nice if it had a marketing plan. I don't recall ever seeing a marketing plan. So do I think that's something that it should have? Most definitely. But I think it's more systemic than just that. I think we need to take a look at GTV overall. Is it funded properly? Is it staffed properly? What are the expectations of the community? You raised the issue here in terms of how do you leverage it. You know, there are, with both the print media, online, web resources, things of that nature, and considering that, I personally think that GTV and the web and the internet are more linked. Because with streaming video, whatever, you can tape in the field, you can stream it on YouTube or on anything. So it's unlike what it was in the past where you had to go into a studio and that's where everything had to be done. Now people can tape things on a phone and post it onto you. So it's really changed the dynamic. Folks with a decent laptop now can edit, and produce. My kids do this all the time. They do this funny videos. So.
Well, that's why my intention is that I think we're talking about a level of enthusiasm rather than a level of investment. Because with the TV station and the team not out in the community, there's no way for the people who are on the committee and working for the station to generate enough enthusiasm in the community in order to bring in more people so that more can be done and share the load. If we don't do something about the level of enthusiasm, then our station is going to fall by the wayside because so many other communities, even communities who don't have the money. The last time that I was here, I pointed out to you all about a website called The Forum. And this is 4 communities, Deerfield, I can't remember the other 3, who have invented their own online neighborhood when their weekly newspaper closed. And they now have a better product online than they had before from the Neighborhood News Corp. And it's a nonprofit. So they're doing it all, and they're not getting buckets of money from places. They have 6 volunteers in each of the 4 communities who cover the 4 levels of news, teens and sports and politics and so on. These things can be done. It's just a question of whether or not we all want to make the commitment to get out there and show a little enthusiasm and coordinate it. If we want to put together, for instance, a committee for the internet and Facebook and, to promote the TV and to promote all those things, it takes people. It doesn't take money, it takes people. And I think we have to act on it or we're going to fall behind.
You've stressed in your summary, you stressed here this evening the use of volunteers to make all that happen. in your summary for the marketing plan, you also stress a full-time station director.
I do. I think that that is something that you all should really seriously consider. But again, when I did this, initially, it was months ago before the budget had been passed, and now we're into a new year, and the money is written in ink, and we have two choices. We either go forward without the money and try to come up with other ways with sweat equity, or we wait till next year. We postpone this again until next year. And it seems to me that if we don't go forward right now with the sweat equity, we'll never be able to come to the community and ask them for money, because we have to show something first.
Is this a plan that perhaps in another agenda item, we'd like to bring in the staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first step now is to get with the chairman of the Cable Access Committee, the folks there. The chairman now, I believe he's the director of Manchester Public Television, so, which is a pretty good cable access entity. And I would be curious as to see, personally, I'd love to see what's called a SWOT analysis. I would love to see our Cable Access Committee do an honest assessment of where they feel they're at, and recognizing that, yeah, I think we do have a shortfall in terms of the amount of money that we're putting towards this. But it's been tough budget season, so either we have to fundamentally then shift how we're doing it, and maybe go towards a manner in which other towns do it, where they take a percentage of their franchise fee and it goes directly to to the cable station, whether it doesn't even pass through the town, or sometimes it does pass through the town. I think it's going to need some financial resources, but by the same token, I really would like to see what is their assessment of this.
One of the things when I was doing this that surprised me was that Manchester charges $100 to train to become a producer to make a program, because the Manchester TV station is producing programs that are interesting enough that people are watching the station, and so people want to be producers, and so they are willing to pony up $100 to do it. And I was shocked. But that, again, supports what I'm saying. First we build a product, and then the money might come. If we have a good product, which came first, the chicken or the egg, and it seems to me in this case that it's the station itself and the programming. And I want to make sure that we're on the same page here, because I know that this had come up, and I did promise Sue that I would give a year of my time to do this. And so I stand by that. So if you decide that you want to push forward, you have me for a year.
Any other points you want to bring forward? Selectman Adams?
Yeah, Carol, did you engage any other individuals or groups when you prepared the document in identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Or
No, I
just
did
your-
this completely as somebody who was frustrated for watching and not being able to find the shows, or shows not being on when they said they were going to be on, or lack of sound, or, various problems.
So this is your own individual initiative without, okay, I just want to
Yes.
make sure I understand
Yes.
what's behind it.
As someone on the television, who watches the television. You know how I got interested? Because several years ago, I was watching TV in my room late at night, and I turned, I know this is going to make me sound like a prude, and I'm sorry, but I came across our station with a program on with inappropriate content. And in my research, I discovered that there was no rule against the inappropriate content. And in my further, I found that the inappropriate content was there primarily because the pot of soup was too big and there just simply weren't enough people to stir it, and there wasn't enough to put on the station, so this came along and it went up and it was inappropriate, and there was absolutely nothing that could be done, because there wasn't any other content, and there wasn't anybody to monitor it at midnight.
It's
And
fill the
that's how
void
I
in
first
airtime?
became interested.
Okay, thanks.
Anything?
Carol, thank you for your effort to observe our town's TV station and your comments. And, you've given us lots of food for thought here this evening.
Good,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.